Welcome back to the channel. It's been a little bit, but it is now mock draft season again. 2024 draft coming up, and today we're going to be hopping in the PFF mock draft simulator. Now, I am going to involve some trades in this one, but they're going to be pretty practical and they're going to be limited to trading up for quarterbacks. So we're going to start with the Bears picking Caleb Williams, number one, which I do believe will happen, and I believe most other people also believe that Caleb Williams will be the first overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. Now, pick number two with the Commanders here. A lot of people are talking about the order of Drake May and Jayden Daniels, but I honestly think that Drake May will be the second quarterback picked here and will reunite with Sam Howell in Washington under completely new ownership and head coach Dan Quinn. Now, pick three is where I have the first action going down, and I have the Patriots trading out here with the Minnesota Vikings, and I'm not going to do the compensation in this because I'm only doing a one-round mock draft this time. I will expand on that in the future, so I'm just going to force this through. It doesn't matter the compensation, but it would be a lot. Don't worry. It would be at least 3 first-round picks. And I'm going to have the Minnesota Vikings taking Jayden Daniels, which he'll get to keep the colors, the purple and yellow from LSU. Keep it in Minnesota, easy jersey swap for anyone interested. And then now we're at pick 4, where I have the Arizona Cardinals taking their next Larry Fitzgerald, which would be Marvin Harrison Jr., who's just, I believe, is a generational receiver prospect that can play for 15 years for your franchise. I think he's a lock for any team interested. I know some people have other opinions on the wide receivers, but I still am team Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver 1. And then we get down to pick number 5, where the Chargers are here. And it's very interesting, because Jim Harbaugh could have that trenches mentality here and go with Joe Alt, who I believe is just the best tackle in this class. Maybe not by like a ton, but man, what a tackle class and what a great tackle in Joe Alt. But in this scenario, I'm going to have a team trading up with the Chargers here. And this may not be very practical because they're in the same division. But hey, maybe if the Chargers really want that compensation. So again, not worried about compensation here. We're going 12 for 5, forcing it through. We have the Denver Broncos trading up here to come get Sean Payton's quarterback of the future, which is J.J. McCarthy. And I know a lot of people are like, what? Like J.J. McCarthy? But a lot of people view him highly in NFL circles. Some people say he's top 15, top 10, top 5. And in this scenario, I'm going to have him getting drafted pretty early here in a class of, there's a lot of quarterback talent, and I think they could come up and get him if they really want to. Now we get to the 6th overall pick, where I have the New York Giants sticking here and selecting Malik Nabers, who some view as better than Marvin Harrison. I think he's awesome. I think he can move around more, play more in the slot. He's very versatile. You saw him run a lot of routes from the slot this year, including fades that him and Jayden Daniels connected on big time. But I think that the Giants have really been looking for that wide receiver 1 for a good time now since Odell has departed, and they looked for that, and Kenny Golladay did not work out. But here's Malik Nabers at pick 6, and I think this would be a home run pick for them. Not sure exactly what they would do with the quarterback situation because they're kind of tied up there with Daniel Jones. But I do like Malik Nabers. I think he's an insanely good prospect. At pick 7 now, my most obvious pick of the draft, and I think if it landed this way, the Titans would absolutely run to the stage with the card, would be Joe Alt to the Titans. I mean, getting a tackle prospect like that at 7 would be absolutely something else, and I think they would be partying, just so excited to get him there at pick number 7. He could go in many other draft classes. Joe Alt would be a lock for a top 5, maybe top 3 kind of guy. Now at pick 8, the Atlanta Falcons are up, and I have them going with an edge prospect that really checks all the boxes. I think they need someone solidified. Dallas Turner's awesome, and he really has the projection to be, really, really good. But Jared Verse, to me, is complete. He meets every metric. He has the size. He has the build. He's a power guy. They just need someone to fold the pocket, and they haven't had that in really a good bit now. And then we sit here at pick 9 with the Chicago Bears on the board, and I believe they would love to have Rome Odunze fall right here to them get themselves their new quarterback in Caleb Williams, and then get another great wide receiver where DJ Moore is already awesome, but add some more talent to that, and there you go. That's a great start for Caleb Williams. That's a great supporting cast for a rookie quarterback, probably one of the best there's been in a good bit. So Rome Odunze there at 9. Now we're at pick 10, and this continues to be a pick that I love making, and it's Taliese Fuaga, the Oregon State tackle. And Fuaga really is different. He's a mauler in the run game. Such a beast. So many good tackles in this class. It's almost hard to really just harp on how good these guys are, but they really, really are. Got to see Fuaga at the Senior Bowl this year when I headed down there. But this now leaves us with pick 11, which is the Patriots trading back with the Vikings, that pick 3, where they went and got Jaden Daniels. Now the Patriots are here with probably 3 first-round pick extras, and now they have pick 11. What do they do with it? I have them going with an Alabama offensive tackle, J.C. Latham, who I believe has rised on a lot of people's draft boards as they've looked deeper and deeper into his film and his testing. Again, tackles, man. Like, there are so many good ones. Now the Chargers are here at pick 12. They traded back with the Broncos, and they still get a guy that many had rumored to be going to them at 5, and that's going to be Brock Bowers. Now, will he fall this far? Is this even a fall? Not sure. It depends on how you look at the tight end position in a draft. But Brock Bowers is really just an elite tight end and would give Justin Herbert such a great outlet and a weapon. And really, he can stretch the field vertically as well. So Brock Bowers would be a home run pick on a trade back as well, because they would be getting a lot of compensation on a roster that really does have a lot to upgrade. And a lot of people won't really admit that. Pick 13 here. The Las Vegas Raiders are up. And I have the Raiders going with an interior D lineman to kind of help out the pass rush. You got Max Crosby, who arguably is one of the best, if not the best, edge rusher in football. And you really have nothing else around him. Chandler Jones, we know how that went. There's not much on the defensive interior. Give him a pass rusher, a guy that gets low in the pads and is strictly a pass rusher over there from Texas, Byron Murphy. He will be able to, put pressure from the middle and then allow Max Crosby to just be unleashed even more. So that would be a fun fit over there in Las Vegas for Antonio Pierce, new head coach. Pick number 14 now, we have the New Orleans Saints. And I'm going to have the Saints taking the shot on the project that I was describing earlier, which is Dallas Turner. They need edge help. They got Cameron Jordan getting old. He's not doing much. And they're really in a cap problem. So taking a guy that may be a year or two out doesn't really seem too bad to me, because I think they are a couple years out and they really just need to eventually, do some tearing down. But Dallas Turner's a great pick here. They do need defensive line help. You got Brian Brzee, who's young and was pretty solid this past year, and now you got Dallas Turner. It's a good foundation there for a future of a D-line. Now, pick 15. The one thing to know about Chris Ballard, who is the Colts GM, is that he loves his athletes. In this case, we're going to stick with that theme, and we're going to go kind of just the prototypical athlete of a corner. And, Cooper DeJean is definitely one, but Terrion Arnold is just like the typical press man corner build, and that is what the Colts like. They got Juju Brents last year out of Kansas State, who's like 6'3", 6'4", just press man corner. They got him in the 3rd round, but they love their athletes, and Terrion Arnold is certainly one of them. Just the typical, looks like he could be a corner 1 in the league for a long time, and I think Chris Ballard will really look to capitalize on that. Now, pick 16 here, we're going to stay local, and I think a lot of people make this pick, and I like it, especially with the new measurements that came out on Troy Fautanu, who a lot of people really looked at him as more of a guard than a tackle because of shorter arms, but he actually came in and did not have short arms. So Troy Fautanu now can be looked at as more of a tackle, and he's very versatile. He's very versatile, though, so he could slide inside if needed, and the Seahawks still do struggle on the offensive line, so this would help a lot. The Jaguars at pick 17. Today they actually released cornerback Darius Williams, who I believe still has some gas in the tank, so that's a very interesting move, but they did save big time on the cap there. But that pretty much clears up what I think they're going to do in the first round here, and that's going with Quinion Mitchell, who a lot of people will look at the Toledo sign and helmet scout that, but you got to watch his film. He he is everything you want. You got to watch his Senior Bowl performance as well. I got to watch it in person. And if any corner can really lock up in the one-on-ones where the wide receiver has such an advantage, look out for them. And Quinion Mitchell was locking up. So I have them picking him at pick 17 here. I think that's a home run pick for them. And I really think Quinion Mitchell is an awesome prospect. He's really fun. It's especially cool he's from Toledo too. Pick 18 is the Cincinnati Bengals, and we all know that they've struggled to find offensive line help. That's been a big struggle that arguably kept them from winning a Super Bowl because Joe Burrow was getting really clobbered back there. And I'm going to have them addressing that with a freak athlete who has agility as well, and that is 6'8", Amarius Mims, who's about 340 pounds, I believe. I'm going to have him going to the Bengals here and them really shoring up this offensive line and getting just a freak athlete. I mean, really crazy athlete. Again, another tackle that you can't speak highly enough about. This guy could be awesome for so many years. Now on to pick 19, we're on to the LA Rams. And I'm going to have the Rams here actually going with the same position. Olu Fashanu here, who in this draft I have him sliding a bit compared to where a lot of people have Fashanu at. But I think between him just getting injured at the combine to kind of some prospect fatigue possibly throughout the past year, I'm not saying he should go here, but this is just how it panned out here. Again, this is a mock draft. Things are going to be off a bit, but it's more of the positional thing. I think Fashanu would be great here at pick 19, and I do think that the Rams could start getting younger on the offensive line. I believe they had Joseph Noteboom. You could definitely do some replacing there. So I'm going to do Fashanu here at pick 19, and then we get to the Steelers. And again, this mock draft is a combination of what I think will happen / what I would do. So there's a mix there. It's neither one completely, but a little bit of both. And in this, if these are the corners that are sitting here, I really like corner for Pittsburgh usually because I really think that they need another one. And if they had one more really solid corner, maybe bring a guy in free agency, and then plus Joey Porter Jr., who's awesome and I really believe in, I think that'd be awesome. But I don't think that they're going to want Cooper DeJean, honestly. And then Nate Wiggins with his weight being 176 kind of concerns me. Weighed in super light, ran 4.28, which is very impressive, obviously. But in this mock, I'm going to have them going Jackson Powers Johnson. The Steelers used to have the Pouncey, not the Pouncey brothers, but Marquise Pouncey, who was their franchise center, really just the pinnacle of that offensive line, and led us to a lot of good times. So maybe we're trying to get someone who I honestly would categorize as a generational prospect here, and Jackson Powers Johnson to be that next guy, and I would not mind that one bit. So I have them going JPJ. We would have two of them, Joey Porter Jr. and Jackson Powers Johnson. Now the Dolphins are up at pick 21, and on this pick, I have an offensive tackle who a lot of people highly regard, and he can also play a little bit of guard, which they would probably look for off the rip. Him just slide to guard, fill in where they're losing some free agents, I believe, on that O-line. So he can play tackle or guard, and they do have a need there. So he can really be versatile, and that's a guy you want whenever Tyreek Hill's getting older, Tua you're about to pay. You got Waddle. You need them to be protected, especially Tua. And I think Graham Barton would be a home run pick there for the Dolphins at 21. Now, pick 22 is the Philadelphia Eagles. And here I'm kind of going to go with a philosophy pick. The Eagles are notable for always picking ahead. So, like, for example, with Jason Kelce retiring, they went ahead 2 years ago and picked, or maybe it was a year ago. It was 2 years ago, I believe, Cam Jurgens, the center. And they always plan ahead. They're always drafting for who's next. And I'm going to do the same thing. They got some aging tackles here. And I'm going to go with Tyler Guyton here to go ahead and step in and be that next guy. Another Oklahoma guy, just like Lane Johnson is. And I'm going to go with philosophy pick here, and that's something I believe could definitely happen. Now for the Texans pick, you watched what CJ Stroud did with Nico Collins and Tank Dell, who was a rookie, Noah Brown, Dalton Schultz. I'm pretty convinced in CJ Stroud. So I think if you can give him a little bit more talent, which there's plenty of in the wide receiver class, that, I mean, man, so exciting. There's definitely many ways to go with this pick, but I'm going to go with a crazy athlete and a 6'4" guy that could just be your vertical stretching X. Has, played next to Malik Neighbors and still produced out the kazoo. So he was awesome. Brian Thomas Jr. I'm going to have to the Houston Texans to give Stroud another weapon, which I believe would be absolutely crazy for him. Now on to pick 24 along the same lines. So I've heard a guy get CeeDee Lamb comparisons a lot. And that guy, especially after the combine running, I believe, a 4.38, 4.39 maybe, is A.D. Mitchell. He's got a lot of CeeDee Lamb comps from the way he plays, his route running, his technicality. He really just resembles CeeDee in so many ways he plays his game, and also has that speed. And he stays in Texas, goes to the Cowboys here. I think that's a really fun fit. And the guy that gets the CeeDee Lamb comparison is now playing next to him. I think that could be pretty deadly and maybe put the Cowboys over the top. I think that they hope that at least. And I also think for the Cowboys, they do need tackle for sure with Tyron Smith departing in free agency. But I think there's so much tackle depth in this class, they could easily pull the trigger on that in a later pick. Now, pick 25 for the Green Bay Packers. This one I like too much. I always draft it. I haven't done too many mock drafts, but just the ones I have done. Cooper DeJean, they really need help back in the secondary, whether it's safety or corner, and he can play both. And he may be a better safety. He's really just a ball hawk and a crazy athlete. He has the speed and the athleticism to play corner, but it's wherever they need him most, and that's just a best player available and something they need really, really badly. So Cooper DeJean to the Packers, if he gets there, just makes way too much sense in my head. Now, pick 26 for the Buccaneers. I'm going to have a guy who's the most technical, just the most handsy, just has the most pass rush moves, has the biggest bag, and that's Laiatu Latu, who I had the pleasure of interviewing at the Senior Bowl. Great guy, great story. Had to medically retire at Washington before he transferred to UCLA due to a neck injury. And, I mean, he's just an awesome dude. His story is super inspiring. And, man, is he a great edge rusher. He has so many counter moves. I mean, watching him at the Senior Bowl, I mean, he hit this one move that was so stunning. And the only reason he would get to this point is because of his medicals and his past, which I think he's gotten good reports on recently, so I don't even think he should get this far. I think he's so talented. But I'm going to have him dropping just for that case here. To pick 26, I'm going to have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers picking him up here and getting a great value pick, kind of resembling the Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah pick by the Browns back in the day after he had his heart problem. And he's insane. JOK is one of the best linebackers in the game for sure, especially if you watch that Texans playoff game. Pick 27, I have the Cardinals here. I'm going to have them, after taking Marvin Harrison earlier on at pick 4, I'm going to have them going with an edge rusher because that is definitely a need of theirs. And that edge rusher is going to be Chop Robinson, who his stock's been really debatable depending on people, but I think his speed, he has 4.4 speed, and the way he just glides around the edge and the bend he has, he's so twitched up. He is just a prototypical just twitched up, speedy pass rusher that can really get it done. There's a little bit of progression that needs to happen there because there were some games this year where you saw him get taken away a little bit. I do believe there's something that can be molded there, and the Cardinals are definitely going to work on that on a D-line that really just does not have much talent after the departure of Zach Allen this past offseason, the year before. Now, pick 28, the Bills are up, and here I have them. I was looking at their edge rushers and their D-line, and man, is it old. They have a lot of old players in a lot of different positions on defense, but I'm going to have them sticking here and taking a player who's really a Senior Bowl guy for the most part, and a lot of people don't necessarily know his name if you haven't really looked into the Senior Bowl a ton, but his stock rose, and he has great measurements. He's really a guy, he played D-tackle and edge rusher, can slide in and out, be versatile, and that's truly what the Bills need because they have so many aging guys on that defensive line and free agents to where I believe AJ Epineza as well. I mean, that front seven is just getting torn apart when it comes to age and free agency. So they need a guy that can play everywhere. And Darius Robinson can play inside and outside and truly is super talented. Ask anyone at the Senior Bowl and they will rave about Darius Robinson as probably the biggest riser, if not one of the biggest risers. Pick 29 now, the Detroit Lions are here. And I'm going to go with the spot that really got torched the most, and that was corner. I'm going to have them going with Kool-Aid McKinstry here, who again can really play in a lot of different schemes and a lot of different roles there. He was really good at Alabama, especially last year. He was a guy that was kind of seen as like a top 10 pick going into the year and didn't really get thrown at very much. Still a great player, but we're just addressing a position of need. We know that corner was just really, really a weakness for this Lions team that was so close if they could have closed that game out to be in the Super Bowl, which is crazy to think about. And you could only think that Mahomes may have done some bad stuff to that secondary. So got to address the secondary. We're picking Kool-Aid McKinstry there. Pick 30 now, we're going to have the slide of Nate Wiggins, who weighed in very light at 176, I believe, which is very light. And Emmanuel Forbes was along the same lines. He didn't do so great in his rookie year. So I believe there will be real concerns over the weight of Nate Wiggins. But his speed and his man-to-man play is super electric, super fun. He has great tape. And I believe in this scenario, I'm going to have him sliding down to 30 to the Ravens, who are a very corner-needy team. I mean, we got guys like Ronald Darby out there. So, I mean, no shot at Ronald Darby, but we got some older guys that aren't necessarily super fresh or super speedy. Marlon Humphrey is awesome when he's healthy. He is really awesome, but Marlon Humphrey, the health is a big question mark there. You got Brandon Stevens, I believe, is like their third corner. It's not a great room, not a solidified or experienced room there. So we're going to go Nate Wiggins here at pick 30. At pick 31, we have the San Francisco 49ers, and this is really a tough one for me. I don't really have a lot of conviction when it comes to a certain pick here, but I really think that they could continue to upgrade that corner room. I think that did hold them back a little bit. They have Deommodore Lenoir, and they have Charvarius Ward, who's awesome. But I really think getting another guy, I believe their depth was pretty rough at that corner position. And I think a guy that I saw mocked, I was looking into a bunch of these teams and who their people wanted them to take, and Ennis Rakestraw is a pretty fun corner prospect who's really kind of risen recently throughout this draft process as someone that could be this back end of the first round kind of guy. Kamari Lassiter is also a really fun one. Mike Sanders still is more of a slot guy, a nickel corner. But I'm going to go ahead and pick Ennis Rakestraw here with pick 31. And that brings us to the Super Bowl champions back-to-back, the Kansas City Chiefs. And I will be selecting what everyone selects for them, but maybe a different one than everyone selects for them. I'm going to go ahead and pick Ladd McConkey, a separator, a guy that can be a blanket. He could be a Julian Edelman for Tom Brady. You guys know the comp, but that's not what I'm saying. He's a technical guy, can route run really well, can separate, has way more speed than people think. He ran a 4.39. He can get vertical. He can really do a lot. Him and Mahomes, you give Mahomes a reliable receiver. Rashee Rice was this year, and you saw what happened. I mean, Rashee Rice, he's a fine receiver, but I mean, he was the one that was reliable, and he got 1,100 something yards rookie year. Give him another reliable receiver, and you're going to see this Chiefs team become much better with some actual reliable hands. I'm going to pick Ladd McConkey here to wrap up this mock draft. And as we look overall at this draft, we had 2 total trade-ups, both for quarterbacks. And then we had really just a run of tackles and wide receivers. As you see here, there's so many great wide receivers, so many great tackles and offensive linemen. I mean, look, pick 18 through 24 were strictly tackles or strictly O-linemen and wide receivers. So, I mean, there's plenty here. Then you got a couple guys rising up like Darius Robinson, Ennis Rakestraw, even Ladd McConkey had a great Senior Bowl. So I think it's a fun practice to do. Again, mock drafts aren't supposed to be necessarily correct, and you can't really get them until all the dust settles closer to draft time. That's what I learned through my first year of doing them last year. But this year I'm going to be more kind of technical and kind of combine what I think will happen with, what I think should happen. So I think this was a fun one, though, and I think a lot of teams would be pretty satisfied with their picks. If you're a fan of some specific team, please let me know down in the comments if you like the pick or not, and tell me why. I'd love to hear the criticism, or I'd love to hear your agreement for the pick. I appreciate you guys so much for watching the video, and if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe if you'd like to watch more, and like the video as well. It helps me see that encouragement and just continue to want to pump out these videos. So thank you guys so much, and have a blessed day. Thank you for watching.